And joining us now is the Minnesota Secretary of State, Steve Simon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So the first day of early voting underway in your state today. Talk us through the safeguards in place to make sure that Minnesota residents can vote safely in the midst of this pandemic. Also, how the day went, any reports of problems?
Well, one thing that's unique about the day today in Minnesota is not only is it the first day of voting in Minnesota and leading the country in that respect, but today also President Trump and Joe Biden are both in Minnesota on the same day campaigning. And I suspect that has contributed to the excitement and the sizzle around this event, and probably accounts for the reports we're getting that at the physical locations on this first day of absentee balloting, there is more buzz and more activity than you'd normally expect. In terms of the overall avenues for voters to vote, they are speaking loudly and clearly about what they want this year. And what many of them want, some for the first time, is to vote from home. We have seen an absolute shattering of the record for people requesting absentee ballots. As of today, we're at 926,000 people in this state that have already requested to vote from home by absentee. That compares in the same period 2 years ago with something like 58,000 people that have requested it as of the same date 2 years ago. And so it's off the charts. People are speaking loudly and clearly. This is a way that really appeals to them this year.
And how is it going so far without a glitch?
So far, really without a glitch, I have to say. There's always going to be something. But so far, the in-person component, we haven't heard any complaints. Everyone has their ballots on time. And in terms of the absentee ballot process, those ballots, for those who have already ordered them, will go out in the mail today. So they should be arriving in mailboxes all over Minnesota in the coming days. And people can start sending them back or hand delivering them back whenever they choose.
And you were on a call yesterday with dozens of secretaries of state and with the postmaster general. There's reporting that it got heated at times. Did you raise any Minnesota-specific issues? And are you confident that the Postal Service can handle a dramatic increase in mail-in ballots in Minnesota and across the country?
Yeah, I would call it pointed but cordial, as somebody else said, and I agree with that. I would say this. I have confidence that they have the logistical capabilities. They have the trucks, they have the vehicles, they have the people. And in Minnesota, we've had a really good relationship with the folks on the ground here and the folks running the show here. Washington's another story. Timeliness is always an issue, but even with the delays that we're reading and seeing reported, even with those delays, I think in Minnesota, we have workarounds. We have things that can accommodate even those delays and give voters the experience they need to get their ballot in on time. So I'm really a glass half full person when it comes to the post office. Yes, the reports are disturbing, and yes, many folks on the call yesterday took that up with the Postmaster General, but that's not going to slow us down, and that's not going to stop us. Minnesotans want to vote this way, and even with delays, they'll be able to get around any inconveniences.
All right. Well, President Trump has also claimed without evidence that mail-in ballots have a higher risk of fraud, even saying without evidence that those ballots are more vulnerable to foreign interference. You were Secretary of State for the 2016 election, where nearly 700,000 Minnesotans voted absentee. Were there any credible cases of voter fraud from those ballots?
No, there were not. And I have to say that it's unfortunate to hear that kind of disinformation and misinformation. In Minnesota, at least, we have a lot of different steps of security, starting with the fact that when you order that ballot, you have to provide some personal identifying information, last four of a social, driver's license number. So unless it's returned with that same information, it's not going to be counted. So if a foreign government tries to fabricate or create a fake ballot, or if someone steals one out of someone's mailbox, they can send it in. Sure, it's not going to be counted, and it never is. In Minnesota, I've asked the question, not just for 2016, but going back the last couple of decades, I've asked folks in the know, do you know of a single case, even one, where someone has filled out a fake ballot or intercepted someone's ballot and successfully voted it? And the answer in Minnesota is no. They don't know of a single case in Minnesota in recent history. We have the security and we have the record to show that it's a safe and secure way to vote.
And looking ahead to November, do you anticipate that Minnesota will be able to declare a winner on election night, or do you think that voters should expect that it'll take several days or even weeks to count all the ballots?
Here's what I think. By definition, we won't have all the ballots counted in Minnesota for 1 week because everyone's given that extra 7 days to get their ballot in. But what I can say is I strongly suspect and predict that we'll have most of the outcomes or winners known well before that. I think in most contests, we will know the winner, if not on election night, very shortly thereafter. And that's because we'll be able to report not only all the ballots counted as of election night, but we'll also be able to say for particular contests, how many outstanding absentee ballots there are. And in most cases, for most offices in most contests, you're going to be able to mathematically call those races and figure out who the winner is. Even though you might not know by how much the winner won until 7 days has passed, you'll know who won in most of those contests. That I am confident of.
Statistically speaking, we'll be able to tell. So what's the number one thing that you're most concerned about now that the votes are being cast in your state?
To be honest, what I'm most concerned about is what happens after Election Day. I am concerned that in the week between Election Day and when 100% of ballots are counted, that space could be filled with disinformation and misinformation from all sources, conspiracy theories, lies, things designed to undermine confidence in our election, to suggest bad motives where none exist. So I think not just in Minnesota, but nationwide, after the election, when, as we know, in Minnesota and most states, 100% of the ballots will not yet be counted. Let's just be calm. Let's be patient. Let's counter lies with truth and facts and talk about what's really going on, not what's in people's imaginations or what they believe is going on or what sinister plots they think are underway. Let's talk about what the system is designed to do and what it is doing. And let's not undermine our democracy or pollute it with things that just don't have any factual basis. That's my number one worry at this point.
Secretary of State Steve Simon, we thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.